Hi everyone, it's Natalie Wright, and I'm here with another Friday book review. This week I'm reviewing The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. His newest novel just came out this week. And it's a little bit different book than I normally read or review because I tend to read action stories, fast-paced adventures, fantasy and science fiction predominantly. And so to read realistic fiction novels, I don't tend to do that. And so this one's a little bit different. I know in the past my book group has picked books by people like, say, Ellen Hopkins, and I want to slip my wrists, probably like halfway through because it's so realistic and so heavy and depressing. So I was a little bit hesitant to pick up a book by John Green with the premise being a girl who has cancer because I figured it would be so maudlin. I'd want to, like crawl into bed and not come out for a week. But this book will make you cry. However, it was not maudlin and depressing, and I'll try to explain to you why I say that as we go on. But I wanted to show you the cover. This is my Kindle cover. And it is one of the worst, most unimpressive covers. It's no better really in color than it is on the Kindle. So I don't know what's up with that, but the cover really doesn't say a whole lot for the book inside. But don't not pick this book because of the cover, because the cover really isn't helpful. Okay, so plot. The point of this story, the plot is that our main character, Hazel, is a 16-year-old girl who got diagnosed with cancer when she was 13. And the cancer is in her lungs. And at the beginning of the story, she was on death's door and got an experimental drug, which ended up being somewhat of a miracle drug for her, in that her tumors are not growing. They're not going away, but she still has them, but they're not growing and not spreading. So because of this, though, she still has cancer in her lungs, and she carries an oxygen tank around with her everywhere she goes. And at the beginning of the story, her mom is basically forcing her to go to a support group for juveniles with cancer. And she's really kind of going kicking and screaming, and she's just about to the end of her rope with group when she meets Augustus in group. And so Augustus is introduced to the story. And he's also really, I consider the two of them two main characters, although it is told in first person in Hazel's perspective. Augustus is definitely one of the main characters as well. Augustus was a basketball player and he has lost a limb. So we have a character who basically has, not full lung capacity. We have a character that has lost half a leg. And then we also introduced to her friend Isaac, who is part of this cancer group. And Isaac, at the beginning of the story, has lost one of his eyes to cancer. So we have partially blind, partially lame, partially lung impaired characters. And it's set up to be the most maudlin story ever. But John Green is a really funny guy, super smart and super witty. So it doesn't become maudlin, partly because of Hazel's perspective and Augustus's perspective too, and Isaac. Really, the three of them, their outlook on their own disease and on life, can be at times so wickedly funny that it doesn't go into the modeling category. Why I said you will cry is that obviously it's a book about cancer, so we probably expect to have some sadness around that. And from the very beginning, you suspect that someone may die. I mean, they're talking about death from the very beginning. But one of the things that John Green does is that I found that my tears were shed not just when we were talking about cancer in the book, but when there's this tender relationship developing between Hazel and Augustus, and their love is so genuine and so real and so unlike most romances that ever get portrayed in novels, that it just at times it was so beautiful, it just made me cry because it was so touching. So that is definitely something that touched my heart, was the relationship between Gus and Hazel. And again, so eloquently portrayed and so really rare for fiction novels. And then there's the relationship between Hazel and her parents. And Hazel's a really mature young lady. She's been wizened by her experience in life. She's very smart. She's very witty. She's got her GED, although she's 16 and she's going to college. So, it's believable that she's a very witty girl. But her knowledge of really what her parents are going through and their experience with all of this That is also makes for some very tender moments in terms of her dialogue with her parents. I really probably don't want to tell you too much more about the book than that because there are some surprises in this book. It doesn't necessarily follow the exact thing you think is going to happen, so I don't want to give you spoilers, but I think if you're a fan of John Green generally, you're going to love this book. If you haven't read John Green books before and you're interested in a story that really explores the meaning of life in a way, I mean, one of the big questions this book is really dealing with is why are we here? What is the point of all of this? And you have these three characters. You have um, Hazel and Augustus, and then there's an author named Peter Van Houten who wrote a fiction. It's a fictionalized fiction book. John Green made up the title. It's called An Imperial Affliction. And Hazel loves this book, and then Augustus comes to love this book. But they almost, through this book, through John Green's novel, they're having a dialogue, these three parties, the author, Peter Van Houten, Hazel, and Augustus, about why are we here? What is the point of all of this? If we're just going to die and become worm food, what is the point of all this? Is there life after this, after death? And, these questions are being asked and discussed throughout the book, which again is a very appropriate thing because it's a book where these kids have cancer, and so they are very aware of death. They know that they can die, and they're not thinking like old age die. They could die tomorrow. So, but again, in John Green's capable hands, this does not become a maudlin conversation. It's an existential conversation with three very intelligent characters making very intelligent points. And at times, I got the impression in a way that it was almost like the three sort of characters were John Green's alter egos arguing with each other. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it sort of occurred to me from time to time. It was our author perhaps arguing with himself about these things. And then towards the end of the book comes in the perspective of Hazel's mother and father on these topics. And it's subtle and it's not a lot of detail, but when Hazel's father was talking, I kind of felt like maybe this is John Green talking. Maybe he imagined what he would say to his own child if his child came to him and asked him or wanted to discuss with him these big picture existential questions. So I don't know if that's true, but it seemed plausible to me. So it's a really wonderful discussion of these really important things that all of us at some time or another are probably going to think about, if not a lot, at least sometimes. So if you're into existentialism, I think it's a wonderful book about that as well. So it's got a really tender, beautiful love story. It's got an existential conversation that people who are into philosophy would enjoy. And then woven throughout is John Green's very classic humor. John Green fans might throw a shoe at me for saying this, but I didn't love Looking for Alaska. I thought it was pretty pretentious at times and tried a little too hard. I didn't say I hated it, but I would not have given that novel 5 stars. It was maybe a 3.5 to me. I know it got awards and tons of people loved it. In my opinion, this book, The Fault in Our Stars, is so much better that Looking for Alaska that I don't know how many awards it could or should win, because in my view, this book tackles in some respects some of the same questions as John was dealing with in Looking for Alaska, but with so much more maturity, both as a writer and as a human being, that I feel like it's so much more skillfully done. My only fault with this book was that Hazel, from page 1, I did not get the impression that Hazel was a 16-year-old girl. To me, Hazel sounds like John Green pretending to be a 16-year-old girl. And in a way, he the methods that he uses to try to make her sound like a teenager kind of annoyed me a little bit from here and there. It was like he was trying to sound like her. But honestly, by the second chapter, it didn't annoy me anymore because I was so engaged in her story that I just sort of shoved to the side, the fact that it kind of sounded like John Green pretending to be a 16-year-old girl. So if I could give this more than 5 stars on Amazon or more than 5 stars on Goodreads, I would. Like I said, it's very rare for me to do that. Is one of those books that I started at 9 o'clock at night and I had to stay awake till 2 in the morning to finish it. Then went to work the next day with very tired and with big puffy eyes because I used a half a box of Kleenex crying because it was really so touching to me. But it's one of the best books I've ever read. Definitely recommend it. So kudos to John Green. I think you've outdone yourself, and this is an amazing piece of work and a classic. It would be a wonderful book for teen book groups or school classes because, again, it deals with some of these big picture issues in a really wonderful way. So kudos to him. It's great. I was going to review The Night Circus this week, but in the meantime, I read A Fault in Our Stars, and I just had to give you my review before I sort of forgot how I felt about it. So next week, I will probably be doing The Night Circus next week. So look forward to that. And everyone have a great weekend. And if you have read or if you read The Fault in Our Stars, come back and let me know what you thought. We can have a discussion here on the YouTube or on the blog. I'd love to hear from you. So let me know what you think. Okay. Have a good weekend, everyone.